Rain-slick streets reflected the city lights like shattered glass, and somewhere in Manhattan, a secret was waiting to be uncovered. A diamond famed for its brilliance rested behind glass and velvet, but not for long. Whispers of theft, anonymous warnings, and a trace of something unexplainable lingered in the air, as though the city itself held its breath. In a house of wealth and obsession, intellect would collide with greed, and every shadow could hide a clue, or a deadly trap. Tonight, the game begins, and only those with sharp eyes and sharper minds will survive the glittering web of deception. If you love mysteries filled with clever deductions, hidden clues, and mind-bending suspense, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more thrilling stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss a twist. Chapter 1: The Glittering Invitation. The rain had been falling all morning, streaking the windows of 33 West 35th Street with thin, silvery lines, and Archie Goodwin tugged his coat tighter as he approached the brownstone. The city smelled of wet asphalt and horse-drawn history, though the horses had long since been replaced by taxis and trucks. The doorbell rang sharply, echoing in the quiet hall, and Archie stepped inside to find the familiar warmth and musty scent of Nero Wolfe's office. Wolfe was seated behind his great desk, a mountain of unopened correspondence forming a small hill to his right. A half-empty tray of chocolates sat forgotten, and the hum of the central heating barely masked the muffled sound of rain against the window panes. He barely looked up. "Goodwin," he said without inflection. "You appear damp. Rain or the city's ennui?" Archie shrugged, shaking off the water. "Both, I guess. But there's something else, something sparkly." He laid a large, embossed envelope on Wolfe's desk. The monogram GL gleamed faintly in gold. Wolfe picked it up delicately, his sharp eyes narrowing behind the lenses perched on his nose. "Explain, Goodwin. And do so without hyperbole." Inside the envelope was an invitation printed on heavy, creamy stock, bordered in gold filigree. It read, "You are cordially invited to the private exhibition of Mr. Gregory Linscott, to view the famed St. Michael's Splendor diamonds. A matter of utmost discretion and danger awaits your attention." Beneath it lay a small catalogue of Linscott's collection, and a handwritten note. "Trust no one, observe everything." Archie whistled softly. "Sounds like trouble wrapped in velvet, boss." Wolfe tapped the note with a long, pale finger. "Indeed. Observe, Goodwin, the phrasing, 3 diamonds listed as St. Michael's Splendor, 1 marked dust-infused. Curious terminology." Archie frowned. "Dust-infused? What, sprinkled with dirt?" Wolfe's eyes gleamed with quiet amusement. "Hardly. In gemology, such unusual descriptions are never accidental. Dust here could be literal or symbolic, a clue, perhaps. Someone wishes to draw attention to one diamond while masking the true danger surrounding the others." Archie leaned against the desk. "So this is one of those we're inviting you so we can see if you're clever enough to solve it kind of deals?" Wolfe did not answer immediately. He fingered the edge of the catalogue, flipping pages with deliberate care. Portraits of the diamonds, each mounted on velvet cushions, glimmered under the photograph's lighting. The descriptions were precise, almost obsessively so, except for the enigmatic note attached to the dust-infused gem. Wolfe traced the words with a fingertip, as if feeling the weight of the threat through paper. Finally he spoke. "We leave for Linscott Manor at dusk. Prepare yourself, Goodwin. This will not be a social call. It is an investigation. There is subtlety here that calls for both intellect and discretion." Archie raised an eyebrow. "Subtlety from a diamond show? Sounds dull." "Dull, perhaps, to the untrained mind," Wolfe said smoothly. "But to those familiar with the interplay of value, temptation, and human frailty, it is a veritable stage upon which the most delicate human dramas unfold." Archie nodded slowly, sensing the seriousness beneath Wolfe's words. "I'll pack my magnifying glass and my sense of doom." Wolfe allowed a ghost of a smile. Goodwin, observe that in these matters, the most mundane objects conceal the deepest truths. A diamond is not merely a gem, it is a repository of history, greed, and occasionally, murder. You will see this in Linscott Manor. Outside, the rain continued its relentless assault on the city. Inside, Wolfe and Archie began preparations, the brownstone alive with an anticipatory silence. Somewhere in Manhattan, a diamond waited, shrouded in mystery, while its guardians were oblivious to the threads of danger about to be woven into their glittering lives. As Archie folded the invitation and slid it into his coat pocket, he muttered, "I have a feeling this is going to be one of those cases where you need brains, brawn, and a little bit of luck." Wolfe's eyes gleamed, reflecting the faint light from the overcast sky. "Luck, Goodwin, is for the unobservant. Observation is the only true ally in games of diamonds and dust." Chapter 2: A House of Shadows. The limousine slid silently through the wet streets of Manhattan, headlights glinting off puddles as Wolfe and Archie approached Linscott Manor. Perched atop a gentle rise like a jewel itself, the manor's stone facade was severe, punctuated with wrought iron gates and tall, narrow windows that reflected the gray sky. Even in the waning daylight, the house exuded the air of a museum, a vault, and a fortress simultaneously. Archie glanced sideways at Wolfe. "This place gives me the creeps. Looks like it hasn't changed since the 1920s. "Indeed," Wolfe replied, stepping onto the marble steps. "It has the advantage of permanence. An older structure is less forgiving of carelessness, more conducive to observation, and more likely to hide secrets." Inside, the manor did not disappoint. The air smelled faintly of polished wood, aged leather, and a lingering hint of perfume from decades past. Velvet curtains hung in heavy folds, muffling sound and adding a claustrophobic warmth to the hallways. Archival display cases lined the walls, some containing centuries-old gem correspondence, others housing diamond replicas and historical records. Each piece seemed meticulously catalogued, yet Wolfe's eyes roamed with barely contained excitement. "Observe, Goodwin," Wolfe said, gesturing to a set of tall cases illuminated by amber lighting. "The curator has attempted to integrate archival history with exhibition. Each diamond has a provenance file, correspondence, even sketches from the cutters. This is not mere display, it is a curated narrative of wealth and artistry." Archie ran a finger along the edge of a glass case, careful not to touch the display. "It's like walking through someone's obsession." Wolfe's nostrils twitched. "Correct. And in obsession, Goodwin, one often finds the path to transgression. Greed, vanity, and desire are constants. Observe the guest list." He handed Archie a small, thick booklet. Names of financiers, collectors, and socialites were listed alongside their titles, each more notorious or eccentric than the last. One entry, however, caught Wolfe's sharp attention. Simply Mr. D, no title, no address. A deliberate mystery. The evening began with a careful display of etiquette. Guests arrived in black tie elegance, moving through the rooms with whispered conversations and polite curiosity. Some carried the faint scent of perfume or tobacco, others the subtle arrogance of old money. Linscott himself, a gaunt man with sharp features and a meticulously trimmed beard, welcomed each attendee with the practiced grace of a man accustomed to scrutiny. Wolfe and Archie mingled briefly, though Wolfe's attention never wavered from the display cases. Finally, he stopped before the St. Michael's Splendor diamonds. There they lay on velvet cushions, each gleaming under the carefully angled lights. The three gems were nearly identical, except for the one marked dust-infused. Its case seemed slightly out of alignment, a barely perceptible shift that would escape the casual observer. Wolfe's eyes flickered with interest. "Archie," he murmured, leaning close. "Observe the shadow along the edge of this case. Someone has tampered with either the glass or the lighting. Subtle, but detectable." Archie squinted. "You think someone's planning to steal it?" "Not merely planning, Goodwin. Someone has already begun the preliminary stages." Wolfe's voice carried the quiet confidence of certainty. Notice the tension among the guests. Observe the private glances, the careful gestures. This is not a casual gathering. It is a tableau upon which the first act of transgression has been staged. As if on cue, the lights flickered. A soft alarm buzzed, more of a warning than a siren, and murmurs rippled through the room. When security rushed to the display case, the dust-infused diamond was gone. The glass remained unbroken, the case locked, and the onlookers stunned into silence. Archie's jaw dropped. How could someone do that? Wolfe's eyes narrowed, scanning every guest, every shadow, every archival document in the room. Precision, Goodwin. This is the work of intellect, not brute force. The thief has considered every variable. Now we must consider ours. Observation is the only path to resolution. Let us begin by cataloging the guests, their movements, and their potential motives. A diamond of this pedigree does not vanish without leaving its trace. Archie scribbled notes, feverishly. So, step 1, we figure out who's capable. Step 2, figure out how they did it. Step 3. Wolfe cut him off, expression unreadable. Step 3, Goodwin, is to recover the diamond before anyone else suffers the consequences of greed cloaked in sophistication. And trust me, consequences in these circles are rarely subtle. The storm outside intensified, and the manor's windows rattled gently. Inside, shadows lengthened across polished wood and velvet drapes. Somewhere among the glittering guests, someone held a secret as brilliant, and as deadly, as the missing diamond itself. Chapter 3, Clues Among Shadows. The storm had passed, leaving the streets of Manhattan washed in a silvery, reflective glow. Inside Linscott Manor, however, the tension remained. Wolfe and Archie had spent the remainder of the evening quietly observing, cataloging, and questioning the guests, though not in the conventional sense. Wolfe preferred the subtle art of conversation, a carefully phrased question, a slight shift in posture, a raised eyebrow. Each guest revealed more about themselves than they intended. Archie had been dispatched to examine the display room for any residual signs of the theft. The other diamonds remained untouched, yet the dust-infused gem's velvet cushion bore an odd trace, a fine, ash-like powder, almost imperceptible in the dim lighting. Archie brushed it lightly with his gloved fingertip. "Dust," he muttered, frowning. "But not ordinary dust. Mineral-like, maybe crushed stone or something." Wolfe appeared beside him, calm as ever. He knelt slightly, examining the powder with a jeweler's loupe. "Good. Observation is key. This residue is not accidental. It is not ordinary dust, nor is it a mark left carelessly. It is kimberlitic in origin, Goodwin, a mineral associated with diamond-bearing rock. Whoever removed the diamond replaced it with a decoy and left a trace, either as a signature or a subtle clue." Archie whistled. "So they're daring us, huh?" "Indeed," Wolfe said. "And that is precisely what distinguishes a clever thief from a master criminal. Notice, the case was untouched, the alarm barely triggered, and yet a trace remains. The thief assumes we are as meticulous in our observation as he is in his execution." Back in the library, Wolfe began his methodical interviews. Each guest was scrutinized: the nervous Linscott assistant who had a habit of fidgeting with cufflinks, a private collector who muttered about cursed diamonds, and Mr. D, the enigmatic figure whose entire presence was an exercise in deliberate obscurity. Each possessed motive, yet the means were elusive. "Mr. D," Wolfe said finally, focusing on the tall, lean man with dark eyes that flicked around the room like a cat. "You seem most interested in these St. Michael's Splendor diamonds. Your knowledge of gem cutting and provenance is impressive. And yet you offer little in conversation beyond observation. Curious behavior." Mr. D's lips curved in the faintest smile. "Observation is often more revealing than speech, Mr. Wolfe." "Indeed," Wolfe replied, unbothered. and observation has its own vocabulary. Subtle traces, gestures, even the choice of footwear can betray intention. One does not simply vanish a diamond, one orchestrates shadows. Archie, notebook in hand, looked on with a mix of awe and impatience. So what now? We just watch them all and hope someone slips? No, Goodwin. We analyze. The letters received by Mr. Linscott over the past month are telling. Typed anonymous, each warning him to protect the diamonds. Each letter bore a peculiar mark, a small star in the corner. A calling card. Someone wishes to be noticed, to test our intellect before striking again. Archie raised an eyebrow. You mean the thief wants us to catch him? Not exactly, Wolfe said, tilting his head. He wants to demonstrate capability. Pride, Goodwin, is often a criminal's undoing. And yet, every detail has a purpose. The dust, the decoy, the letters, they are all pieces of a puzzle. And the puzzle is solvable, if one observes carefully. Archie nodded slowly, glancing back toward the display case. And the diamond itself? Somewhere nearby, Wolfe said, his voice dropping to a whisper. The thief's plan is elegant. The diamond is not gone entirely. It has merely been relocated to a place revealed by shadows, timing, and knowledge of the archival structure of this manor. When the light aligns with the cases, it will be evident. As the night deepened, Wolfe returned to his office, ordering coffee and drawing maps of the display room's layout, overlaying shadows cast by the evening lighting. Archie, perched on the edge of a chair, watched as Wolfe traced invisible lines across paper, his mind a labyrinth of deduction. Observation, Goodwin, Wolfe murmured, finally pausing, is both science and art. It is patience, intellect, and a willingness to see beyond the obvious. Every guest has a motive, every shadow conceals a secret, and every trace, no matter how small, leads to revelation. Tomorrow, we shall begin the search in earnest. Archie yawned, glancing at the storm-streaked windows. Sounds like a long night ahead. Long, yes, Wolfe replied, sipping his Moriano coffee. But in diamonds and dust, the patient mind prevails. And we, Goodwin, are always patient. The storm had left the streets glistening, but inside Linscott Manor, a quiet tension remained. Somewhere among the gleaming treasures, the thief had left a trail, and Wolfe intended to follow it to its conclusion, one subtle clue at a time. Chapter 4: The Tangled Web. The morning after the storm brought a gray light that barely penetrated the heavy curtains of Linscott Manor. Wolfe, ever methodical, had already begun his analysis. He paced the library, hands behind his back, eyes flicking over every archival display, every guest log, every creased letter sent anonymously to Linscott. Archie followed, notebook ready, trying to keep pace with Wolfe's rapid, deliberate thoughts. Goodwin, Wolfe began, pointing to a faint trail of kimberlitic dust leading along the edge of a display case. Observe the trajectory. It leads not outside the manor, but to a location visible only when the lighting aligns at dusk. The thief, having replaced the diamond with a decoy, relied upon our likely oversight of such minute details. Archie whistled softly. You're saying the diamond's still here somewhere? Precisely. And more importantly, the thief wanted us to know it was here. That is why the powder was left, a signature. Pride is never subtle. Wolfe's voice carried a rare note of satisfaction. Now we turn to motive and opportunity. He methodically gathered the suspects in the main hall. Each guest looked uneasy under Wolfe's unblinking scrutiny. Linscott himself appeared nervous, fidgeting with his cufflinks, while Mr. D maintained a faint, unreadable smile. Mr. D, Wolfe said, his voice calm but cutting. You have demonstrated extensive knowledge of gem cutting, provenance, and archival display. And yet you insist upon anonymity. You have both motive and means. Explain this, please. Mr. D's eyes flicked to Linscott before returning to Wolfe. Observation is often more profitable than speech, Mr. Wolfe. I prefer to learn before declaring intent. Indeed, Wolfe said, noting the tiny inconsistencies in Mr. D's posture, the slight dirt under his fingernails, the faint trace of mineral dust on his cuff. And yet the details betray you. Observation, Goodwin, is the greatest form of interrogation. Archie muttered. He's good at playing mysterious, but I think you've got him cornered. Cornered, perhaps? Yet we must verify. Let us consider opportunity. Wolfe gestured toward the library's layout. The theft occurred between 8:17 and 8:23 p.m., during a staged toast. Security logs report no one entering or leaving. The lights flickered, a deliberate misdirection. Only someone familiar with the manor's archival architecture could accomplish this. Mr. D has studied these layouts for months, I suspect. Knowledge of secret panels, case alignments, and lighting angles is essential. Archie leaned over the floor plan. So he timed it perfectly. But why leave the dust? A calling card, Wolfe said. He wants recognition for his intellect. Most criminals are content with the act. This one seeks validation. And that is precisely his undoing. Pride and predictability remain the thief's Achilles heel. Following Wolfe's instructions, Archie manipulated the library lighting as dusk approached. The amber glow hit the archival cases at an angle Wolfe had predicted. Shadows aligned along a particular path, tracing the outline of a previously unnoticed panel engraved with Linscott family insignia. With careful precision, Archie slid the panel open. Inside, lying upon velvet and dust, was the stolen diamond, perfectly intact, glittering faintly in the lamplight. Wolfe studied it with satisfaction. Observe, Goodwin. The diamond's journey was carefully orchestrated, yet the human element, curiosity and pride, provided a flaw. The thief anticipated intellect, but underestimated observation. Mr. D, standing nearby, finally spoke, his voice calm. You are exceptional, Mr. Wolfe. You solved a puzzle designed to ensnare only the most brilliant minds. Wolfe's expression remained unreadable. Brilliance, Mr. Van Horn, is measured not by the theft itself, but by the traces left behind. Dust, timing, and misdirection, these were your tools. Yet every tool has a limitation. Archie scribbled notes furiously, knowing the denouement was near. Wolfe carefully returned the diamond to its rightful case, ensuring the velvet was untouched, the archival integrity preserved. Tomorrow, Wolfe said, rising and straightening his suit, we will confront the perpetrator, and the threads of pride, observation, and intellect will be fully revealed. Until then, Goodwin, patience is required. Every piece of evidence has a story, and we must allow it to tell itself completely before judgment. Outside, the first stars began to glimmer over the rain-washed city. Inside the manor, the diamond gleamed silently, waiting for its fate to be sealed, as Wolfe and Archie prepared for the final act of this dangerous, glittering game. Chapter 5: Diamonds, Dust, and a Twist. The next morning, Wolfe summoned all the principal guests to the brownstone's office. Linscott, anxious and stiffly upright, stood near the window, while Mr. D, finally revealed as Douglas Van Horn, maintained his calm, inscrutable demeanor. Archie perched on a chair at Wolfe's side, notebook in hand, ready to record the intellectual fireworks he knew were coming. Wolfe motioned for silence. Mr. Van Horn, the game you have played, an elegant orchestration of precision, timing, and pride, is at an end. The dust-infused diamond has been recovered, as you might have expected. Yet it is not merely the diamond that has been tested today, but our attention, our intellect, and our capacity for observation. Van Horn inclined his head slightly. I take it you solved the puzzle without error? Not merely solved, Mr. Van Horn. Anticipated, Wolfe said, folding his hands over his chest. Every step you took left traces, dust, misalignment, carefully placed letters with your signature star. These were meant to impress, to show the world your capability. Yet your reliance upon pride and misdirection betrayed you. Archie, unable to resist, leaned forward. So the diamond never left the manor? You just knew where to look. Wolfe allowed a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Observation is a map, Goodwin, and the shadows are roads. The diamond's journey was entirely constrained by human design and human weakness. Mr. Van Horn relied on intellect alone. He forgot the unpredictability of the observant mind. Van Horn's dark eyes flicked to Archie, then to Wolfe. So all this, the letters, the dust, the timing, it was meant to lure you, and yet you were not deceived. Precisely. You assumed misdirection and secrecy would protect you. You did not account for careful archival analysis, or for the value of seemingly trivial traces. Every element of your plan was catalogued, studied, and countered. Wolfe reached for the recovered diamond, holding it delicately. The facets caught the morning sunlight through the tall windows, scattering rainbow reflections across the office. Observe, Goodwin. The diamond is returned intact yet enriched by the knowledge that intellect, careful, patient, and persistent, triumphs over both greed and artistry. Van Horn's lips curved in a small, wry smile. I confess, Mr. Wolfe, I did not anticipate being bested at my own game. You have earned your reputation. Reputation, Mr. Van Horn, Wolfe said softly, is the residue of careful observation, not the residue of arrogance. You left clues because you desired recognition. Yet it is recognition, not theft, that proves fatal. Archie scribbled a final note in his notebook. So, the diamond's back, the thief's caught, and you've made it all look easy. Wolfe's rare smirk appeared. Nothing is ever easy, Goodwin. Only those unwilling to examine the layers of human behavior and the subtle interplay of circumstance presume ease. Mr. Van Horn was clever, but pride, a human constant, has undone him. Linscott, visibly relieved, extended his hand to Wolfe. I cannot thank you enough. The diamonds are safe, and the integrity of the manor remains intact. Integrity, like diamonds, must be handled carefully, Wolfe replied, returning the gesture with measured formality. Negligence allows cracks, and pride provides the dust through which deception travels. Van Horn was escorted out by the authorities, his enigmatic composure never faltering, while Wolfe returned to his office, pouring a cup of Moriano coffee. Archie settled into a chair, exhausted yet exhilarated. So, another sparkling mystery solved? Archie said, grinning. Indeed, Wolfe said, gazing out at the rain-washed city now bathed in sunlight. And let this serve as a reminder, Goodwin, it is not the diamonds that shine brightest in this tale, but the intellect and patience applied to uncover them. Dust may settle, fortunes may glitter, but observation endures. Archie laughed softly. I'll toast to that, boss. Diamonds and dust, huh? Wolfe allowed a ghost of a smile. A fitting metaphor, Goodwin. And again, perhaps, best left to those willing to respect both the brilliance and the shadows. The end.